Hello everyone, welcome to my commentary for my Family Guy video game, Any Percent Run. So to start here, we're going to be playing as Stewie. Stewie's goal in this level is to get to the roof to prevent Bertram from stealing his satellite. Stewie just made a mind control device and he plans to use the satellite to mind control everyone in the world. So it's very important that Bertram doesn't steal his satellite. You'll see throughout the game these little yellow pips. These are used to upgrade Stewie's ray gun. So right now we're just trying to get to 19 to open that door up. Once we get to 20, we'll actually unlock the ray gun, but in this early part, Stewie doesn't have a gun. So here you're normally supposed to grab Lois and make her grab the vacuum, but we do this little out of bounds trick to clip through the door there and come outside. Coming up here, this is called house skip. Basically, whenever Stewie gets shot underneath his feet, while he's doing a double jump, he'll do that kind of floaty thing upwards, and then every time he's shot, he'll stand still. So now Stewie's come to the roof to confront Bertram. Basically what happens is Stewie decides he needs to blow up the satellite rather than let Bertram take it. But that was actually Bertram's plan. And when Stewie blew up the satellite, it fell onto Peter. So now he is in the hospital trying to get to Peter so he can shrink down to miniature size and infiltrate Bertram's lair. This section... Okay, right here I destroyed the oxygen tank, but you can actually use that oxygen tank to jump on top of it and then jump over that metal rack thingy. It saves a few seconds, but if you destroy it, there's that little backup I did to break the machine there. Basically, you just got to clear out the guards, then you can come through here. This is the electrical hallway, so you got to wait for those guys to stop doing the electricity walls. So I pretty much just go out of my way to collect these upgrades because they're very important, as you'll see later in the run. If you don't have 200 by the time you hit the minefield in Peter's stomach, it really will mess with you. You'll probably end up losing the run because it's very difficult to complete that section without the grenades. You can do it, it's just going to waste a lot of time to not have grenades. So here I'm just taking out all these nurses before I start to climb this machine because even if you don't take them out, you still have to take them out when you land to open the door. So it's better to just do it before you go up than after. Here's one trick I do where I kind of fly away from the platform and it'll actually let you grapple it still. And then I'm kind of just collecting these pips, falling down, shooting the guards, and then heading to the next room. And here we have a trick called Nurse Clip. I take out these nurses in white because they can actually mess you up when you're doing it, but you can clip out of bounds there using a single jump and then a double jump. The timing is a little precise. It's maybe like a 5-frame trick, but you can get it pretty consistently if you practice it. So those nurses that are not the ones in blue, they actually revive people, so I try to take them out first. And I do that with 3 charge shots and a single shot because they have 10 hits. So you'll see I do 3 charge shots and then the single shot. Here I just kind of break that to get the laser wall down. You can actually jump through laser walls, but it's very precise and kind of a tough trick to do. So I only do it in very specific sections. There's actually pretty much only one section I risk the laser wall skip, and that's for this one part in Bertram's lair. But you'll see that coming up. So here is MRI clip. This trick is done by tapping A and then double jumping, similar to nurse clip, and then you can just hold upright and you'll clip inside of it and grab the MRI piece. So now we're going on to a Brian level. In Brian's story, he's trying to find evidence that he didn't impregnate Seabreeze because Carter believes that he did, and he's taken to jail for it. So here in this level, we're trying to escape jail and collect evidence that Brian is not the father of Seabreeze's children. This part is pretty simple. You just kind of wait out these guards. Not much to it. Then we come into the showers. These showers have interesting skips. The first room is pretty simple, but coming up you'll see more. Also, we got our first cutaway here. This one is just all about mashing. I'm kind of a slow masher, so I don't usually get it in the fastest amount of time. You can do it in a fourth of the clock. Usually I'm like 3/8 of the clock when I do it. So this is pretty standard for the rest of the level, except for one part at the end that you'll see. You just kind of want to go past those guys before they turn around, and then here you can actually rush those guards before they'll see you. Also, these guys have really bad vision and they can't detect you for some reason, so you can just run past them like that. Right here, there's going to be the same trick where I get caught, but I go through the door fast enough to not be seen. Right here, there's a thing called Showers 3. If you can like rush those guards, you can get past them, but they're usually they turn too fast for you to actually run past. So it's really risky. Like if I have the movement for it, I'll do it, but if I know my movement's not good, I won't risk it. So here you just gotta collect that evidence and then go forward. If you don't collect the evidence, you can't escape the room. Like you'll get to the end door and it won't let you press Y. So here is police skip. You normally have to press that box in the back, but we just do that and it lets us run in front of him and go to the next room. The timing's not too tight, but if you go slow, you'll get caught. So you got to try to go fast there. There is one evidence in this room that I'm going to collect here. This coming up is kind of a skip, not really. You just run in front of that guard. He'll see you for a second, but then go back to his normal cycle. It's weird how it works. And then here you can actually kind of go under the desk like that. It makes it easier for you to escape like that, because normally you'd have to walk and it wastes a few seconds. And then this is the end of the level. You just run past Adam West, go down there, and then we're into liposuction Stewie. In this section, the liposuction machines have started leaking fat, so you have to help find parts to repair the machines. So we just kind of swim across that lard and then come in here. I always try to collect these power-ups. I missed one there, unfortunately, but you want to make sure you're collecting as many power-ups throughout the run as you can, because like I said, if you don't have 200 once you hit the minefield, you're going to be in big trouble. And then this is the first part of the machine here. In this next room, there's a trick called lard skip. You can actually land on these little bubbles like that, and then jump across. It's estimated to save anywhere from like 3 to 10 seconds, depending on how fast you are swimming. If you're going for a really fast swimming route and you're kind of ignoring upgrades, it's around like 3 seconds. But with the path I'll take, it's usually like a 10-second time loss, because if I land in the lard, I just go out of my way for upgrades. And then here, you just kind of are racing against the clock to get to this last part. It's pretty tight, so if you bonk against stuff, you will fail. Like you'll see, I get that with 2 on the clock. Sometimes I get it with 1, depending on how many bonks I have. But if you hit the walls too much and bounce around, you're not going to be able to collect it in time. So coming up, we're going to go into the morgue here. There's a cool trick here called Clown Skip. This trick is an out of bounds trick, and it lets you skip having to go through this like puzzle where you go through different morgues. You just clip out of bounds and come here, and then go past that wall. And then we take out those nurses and we come here. This is the hallway of nurses. You just kind of want to make sure you're shooting all these nurses in one cycle. I missed 2 of those there, but it wasn't too bad because they were the blue nurses. If you miss the white nurses, that's kind of bad because the white nurses can throw darts and those damage you. Plus, if you shoot at the same time as the dart animation comes out, the dart will actually block your shot and you won't damage the nurse, which is really annoying. So now there's one more wave. That wave also went kind of bad. I always try to do these in one cycle where like I just kill everyone before they have to go through again. But if you miss it and have to do a 2 cycle, it's not the worst thing in the world. So coming up here, we're about to infiltrate Peter, but he has a bunch of nurses surrounding him. So we're just going to summon Death and use Death to take out the nurses. There's a bit of RNG here, because Death can have different quotes. It only will change the run by like 1 to 5 seconds maybe, depending on what RNG you get. but some quotes are faster. I'm not sure exactly what quotes are the fastest, but this last one is always the same. He'll tap the nurse twice and then punch her, and that animation is always the same. But the first one can be different, but usually it's just a punch. The second one sometimes is a punch. It just depends. So now we got another cutaway here. This is Sexy Party. That movement I just did is the fastest way to complete it. You go up, left, right, and then down, and you'll complete it super fast. But if you don't do it like that, you'll waste maybe 5 seconds. Also, it's really important to actually win the mini game because if you don't, you don't get the 10 upgrades from completing the cutaway. So now Stewie has infiltrated Peter's body, and he woke up thinking that Mr. Belvedere has kidnapped his family. So he's going to rescue them, and he believes that everyone in Quahog is a brainwashed henchman of Mr. Belvedere. I didn't know who Mr. Belvedere was, but I actually looked it up, and he's like from some Fox TV show. Uh, I thought it was kind of weird that he's in this game, but it makes sense. Like, they have the rights to him, so might as well use him. In these Peter sections, you'll see this thing called go skips. So every time a go prompt pops up, I jump. If you don't jump right when it pops up, Peter will do this little animation where he like claps his hands, and it wastes like 2 seconds. So every time you hit that go jump, it's like a 2 second time save. They're uh, they're not super important, but if you're doing like individual level runs, they definitely are something you'll want to hit every time because it is like a 2 second time save, like I said. Also, if you ever see these guards turn blue, that means they're not taking damage, so you want to make sure they're red when you hit them. Otherwise, it's just not damage. You may see here, if I get a punch on them, see, yeah, that headbutt does no damage to those guards. See, they turn blue? That means they're immune to the damage from it. So certain enemies do have, like, certain weaknesses. Um, the adults, you usually just can kill them with an uppercut. The police officers require um, like kicks, and the little kids will die to a single kick, and the old people die to one punch. So you'll see there, one punch took that guy out, one took that girl. So I just spin all those adults because that's the fastest way to do it. I also kind of try to train the cops up together to kill them. I missed one, so it's a bit of time loss, but nothing too huge. So coming up, we're going to be in the last section of this before the boss fight. I always grab that sign and chuck it at the sausage stand so that it aggroes all those people. Another thing about Peter is if you're carrying an enemy, you'll actually be able to run faster. So it is a good idea to be holding someone when you're running. Like you'll see, I pick this guy up so I can run with him to collect the food. Unfortunately, I don't have full snack meter in here, so I can't get instant clam. But if you have full snack meter, you can just do 2 spins right off the bat, and it'll kill the clam. That's the fastest way to kill him. So here I'm mashing X and B at the same time. We do that because you have to hit B after the X mash to kill the clam. So just mashing X and B at the same time is a really good method to kill it. I used to just mash X and then move to B, but I realized it was wasting like 3 to 4 seconds every time because I'd have to react and move my thumb. Also, we got another cutaway here. These Peter cutaways award snack meter, and the snack meter does carry over into the next level. So I will start with more snack meter going into that one. This level is called Pimp Brian. Basically, we've escaped the jail section of this place, and we're now in this storage area, and we're trying to find Seabreeze so we can talk to her and figure out if she knows who is the father. We got a Brian cutaway here. Brian cutaways just make him invisible. This one we fail on purpose because you don't need invisibility here. It actually wastes time to get that. So you just run past that guard like that. He won't detect you. And then we turn this blow up doll on and come down and hide in the shadows. You can rush the guard, but the timing on it is really tight, and I usually don't do it just because I've had plenty of runs die to it, and it's only like a 2 second time save, but there is very specific positioning there to where you can actually skip the guard. So here there's 4 evidence to collect. The last one, there's a little skip we do. Also, there's a skip right here. If you just mash the control stick, that guard kind of freaks out and he can't detect you. So I just kind of mash my stick forward and then mash it down. I wait for this guard because if you run in front, he'll see you for a second. He won't detect you, but it does waste time. And then you can just run up like that, collect the evidence. I missed it, but if I had collected the evidence there, I would have ran down and straight to Seabreeze. But if you miss the evidence, this is like 5 to 10 seconds of time loss. I'm not sure exactly how much, but you do lose a bit of time having to wait for the guard to walk back down. So here there's only 1 evidence to collect, and then we're on to the last room after this. We need to grab that pimp disguise so we can get out of here. So you can actually run past that guard there when he's standing like that, like he doesn't have vision for some reason, but if you get caught, it disables a skip later in the run, which is a very important skip. It saves like a minute, so risking a 2-second time save for like a minute time save is not really a good idea. Right here, you're going to see I get intentionally caught. This enables something called pimp skip. So in the next Brian section, we're going to get intentionally caught right off the bat, and it'll cause him to pull out this pimp disguise he's wearing now, and we can use the pimp disguise to sequence break, but he only pulls the pimp disguise out if you get caught right there. So here's something called partial pimpless. I run up here and run into the shadows. We used to do this where you would run straight to the right and put the pimp disguise on and then complete the whole level with the pimp outfit. But we realized Brian's move speed is actually slower if he has an outfit on. So it's better to do the whole thing pimpless, but I don't know the cycles at the moment, so I don't do it. Like, I've done it where I could have gotten it, but I fuck it up and it's like just a really hard skip, so I don't go for that one. And here we're inside of Peter's stomach now. This first part is the Lake of Acid. So basically you're just trying to cross this and get to the door over there. There's some cells blocking it. The way I take them out is with a charge shot. They have 2 health, but I find the charge shot is the most effective for me. I missed it there, so I just single shot, but if you can charge while walking up to them, that's definitely the best way to do it. So you'll see these green pustules, they'll damage you. The red ones do damage you, but they also have upgrades inside them. Also, those little, I don't even know what to call them, but blue blob thingies, they have 5 upgrades each, and if you run into them and shoot, you'll collect all 5. So now we're going into Peter's lung. You'll see on the timer there, I'm entering this sub 18, which is really good. Like, I usually don't have runs get here sub 18. So that's a good sign for me to just keep the run alive. Usually if it's not sub 18, I'm kind of iffy about keeping the run alive. Also, you'll see I walked up there to shoot that little blob thingy. That's because it had 5 upgrade pips. I started going out of my way for upgrades here because I realized I'm kind of low. So I wanted to make sure I could catch up later before I hit the minefield. So now there's a little skip here we do. You can jump from this platform to the next. I kind of line it up with that quarter there. And then once the platform is like fully lined up, I do my jump. And then I'm just jumping here to see when I get the high jump. You can see kind of this pollen stuff going up and down. That determines if you have a high jump or a low jump. If it's going down, it's a low jump. If it's high, it's a high jump. I had low health here. I decided to just continue on and not die to reset my health. But I did call it kind of close. Like, you'll see I got shot once there. If I had been shot like 2 or 3 more times, I definitely would have died. So here I just kind of try to pop the red one before I collect the upgrade because I will take damage if I just hit it straight on. There's a little thing you can do there where you jump like right as you bounce. I missed it, but it is like 5 to 10 seconds faster than doing this this way. So now we're going into Peter's brain. This section, you just fight a bunch of Loises. I fell in the hole here to reset my health. It's kind of hard to do this with low health. Like, you just risk dying halfway through, and I'd rather know I'm not going to die than to risk it. Also, throughout this level, I just kind of train the enemies because the ranged Loises will throw stuff into the melee Loises, and they can actually damage each other. So that's pretty good. Also, I like to fight around this pit because, as you'll see, the Loises can fall inside of it, and that saves a bit of time, especially if a normal Lois falls in. That saves a huge amount of time because normal Loises break into 2 and then break into 4. So that's like saving you from killing essentially 8 enemies or so. Well, it's more like yeah, it's more like 6, I think, but it does save a bit of time. So now we're going inside of Peter's brain. Here we're just trying to move these hungry thoughts to the erogenous zone so that we can get his blood flow shifting to the testicles. So I start off with this greasy guy because he runs the fastest, and then I just kind of move left to right as that's kind of the fastest way to do it. Cleveland is the slowest, and normally you're supposed to do him last, but for some reason this fortune cookie just can't hit Cleveland. So we do it like that. Um, and then the next one is Peter's dad. He's the second slowest. You can use him to push Stewie, but I'm not really sure if it saves time. To me, I think it's slower, but there are runners who will use Peter's dad to push him along the football field. And then you kind of just come here, and then you're going to hop into the tube that sends you to the testicles. Now we have Potty Peter. This level we used to actually play legit and like just kind of run all the way through it. You go through a soccer field. There was a porta potty mini game. There's a whole lot to the level. You'll kind of see it, but we found this out of bounds skip here called Fridge Skip. And that was actually discovered by me. Originally, it was a duck skip. We would use this little rubber ducky thingy to clip out, but it was very inconsistent. And then I decided after one run of me, I missed it like for 4 minutes straight, and I was like, oh, this is not a viable skip. Like, I need to find a consistent way to do it. And then I found that fridge skip, and it's 100% consistent as long as you're facing the right direction when it hits you, and you also have the right positioning in the tree. But yeah, you'll clip out of bounds and you can run past everything. You'll see there's the soccer field. That's the porta potty mini game. You'd have to go up to that ice cream truck and you'd have to fight all those enemies. Then you'd come here and you'd fight these enemies. And it was just a whole process. Like doing this saves about 3 minutes. Because before, I think my PB was somewhere in the 6 minute range, and now it's like, it's a 2:33. So this definitely saves a lot of time. Like you can just see all these enemies I would have had to have been fighting. You also just risk dying. Like this is a really hard level. I would die here a lot. So it's just better to do it this way. And then I clip back in at the end of the level. These are pretty much the only normal enemies you have to fight just to get the level to summon the clam. So once you take out those adults, you'll get these little kids to spawn. Then you fight the police officers here. The AI on them is kind of bad because when you do the skip, it messes with their movement. So I kind of just try to train them as best I can. I like to spin 4 cops there, but I didn't get it. Here I could throw the cop at that cop, but I decided not to because if you don't have a cop to throw at those riot shield guys, you'll actually have to spin and then you can't do instant clam, which right here I do instant clam. It's just 2 spins like I mentioned before. And that was a pretty fast Potty Peter. The fridge skip is maybe like 10 seconds slower than duck skip, but duck skip is really RNG. Like usually you miss it enough to where you actually lose like 20 seconds of time. I just normally I get it after about 40 seconds of trying. Fridge skip is only like the first 20 seconds of the level. So now we're going into news station. Here you'll see I do pimp skip. Basically, this was enabled from me getting caught in the last level. You just run into that guard there. You'll pull out your pimp hat, put it on, and then you can run down here, run to the right, and run up. You won't get caught. And then in order to get into the news station, you need a cheerleading costume, but the game doesn't care what costume you're wearing, so it'll actually think this pimp costume is the cheerleading one, and it'll let you in. So now you just kind of wait for this cutscene. Brian does a little dance here, and then the guard's like, oh, come on in, sugar. and then he lets you in. Here we have to collect a banana costume and then head into this DJ room. But we actually found a skip to allow you to not collect the banana, which you'll see. Basically, it uses this tech called crouch canceling. Crouch canceling is done by crouching when you get caught as Brian, and then if you get like caught while crouching, you have a few seconds to continue running. Like normally, the level would have just failed the minute I touched that guy, but because I was crouching when I did it, it gives you like 5 or so extra seconds to continue running. So we use that extra time to run through the door. It is faster. The only thing is you have to be more careful here because normally you have a banana costume, which means you can run in front of the humans and they won't detect you. But if you're costumeless, it makes it a little harder. But it's actually better too because your move speed is increased without a costume on. So we just have to collect these videotapes for evidence. The reason why we came here to a news station is because Seabreeze let Brian smell her, and when Brian smelt her, he smelt the scent of Tom Tucker. So we're here to find Tom Tucker. Now we're going to be going into this next room. This is just kind of like a conveyor belt thing. You just run along it, and you have to run like at a pretty specific timing here. So like right when these saws come up, you just got to start running or that thing will crush you. I've been crushed by it so much, but that's the fastest cycle I did there. You can wait for the crushers to rise again, but it'll waste like 5 or 10 seconds. This mini game we just fail because it gives you invisibility, but there's no point in having invisibility as Brian when you're doing these early sections because like, well, not early, but for that section, there's no real point because, like, that's the last part of the level. What would invisibility even do there? So now we're entering Black Peter. This level, you're just kind of trying to save Lois and find Belvedere and stuff. That's pretty much the plot of all these Peter levels. He believes that Belvedere has kidnapped his family, and before the start of all these levels, something like falls on top of Peter to make him believe he's something else. So in this one, he got hit by a door by this black family, so he believes he's his ancestor, Rufus Griffin. I don't know much about Rufus Griffin. I know he's in like one episode of Family Guy. So here we're just kind of kicking the kids in the ball pit, trying to get through. I always go out of my way to make sure I take out the kids earlier, because if you don't, they'll follow you and then you'll kick them. And they'll spawn in the back of the level, so I always just respawn those ones. Here I'm just pressing BXB to do this spin combo. It's the best way to break everything, because usually it's pretty hard to hit all 4 at once, but if you do it like that, it's a lot easier. I'm just kind of charging all these people, makes it a little faster, and then I spin the cops, chuck that one there. And then I actually hit the door right as I got the go animation, so it didn't waste time to do the go animation. But if I had been back like a bit further back to where I wasn't in front of the door, Peter would have done the go animation, and then I would have had to wait to go through. So these waiters, pretty much the only way to take them out is a spin. I think you can melee them, but it's a lot slower than doing a spin, and if you charge into them, it won't take them out. So here I unfortunately missed the guard there, but I just kind of was trying to collect hot dogs and then be able to spin again, but I don't have a spin. Also, you'll see there, I did rush into this guy, and he knocked me down, but I got a spin right there. Wasted a bit of time, like maybe 10 or 20 seconds. I'm not sure exactly how much time was lost there. So then you kind of take out all these enemies. Here, if you mash Y right as the section completes, you can go through the doors and skip this sit my ass down minigame. But we have to play it because I wasn't fast enough. It's literally like 1 frame, so usually I'm just mashing Y the whole time, hoping I get it. I've done it a few times, but it is difficult. So now we're going into the depths of Cheesy Charlie's. This part has those rat things. If the rats jump on you, you have to like flick the stick back and forth, and it's really annoying. You'll see I do it there. So I always try to rush into them. The rush is just R&B, and you'll kind of see when I do it, Peter will do a little like charge animation. So here you'll see the ball pit has turned into a snake pit, and you have to like drop the kids in to use their skeletons to get across. If you fall in the pit of snakes, it's like a one-hit kill, so you gotta be careful. It's really risky to do. I've had runs just die to that pit because I fall in or I have an enemy like punch me into the pit. And it's just really annoying to lose a run to that snake pit. So here I took everyone out, got the ghost skip, and then I just do a little spin there to take out this moose. And then you'll see we got an evil Winnie the Pooh here. This guy takes 2 spins, so I just do that. You can complete it with spinning on Winnie and then going into the moose. But it is kind of tight, and if you mess it up, you won't have the spins to take that guy out, so I don't recommend doing that. This is another cutaway. You just kind of praise the Lord, and then you can go into the next section. It gives you a snack meter, so it's good to complete that one. There's no reason to fail it. So here I just charge everyone. This guy, the fastest way to beat him is to just mash B while holding R, because you'll do the charge thing, and it'll just take him out like that. It's super fast. Then I just kind of charge over here with the last of my snack meter. You take this guy out, he'll drop some pizzas. I don't worry about collecting those until I've taken everyone out in the room, because these stay for a bit until this whole thing cracks. Then I do that elbow drop trick. It'll instantly drop you to the floor. Normally there's a falling animation there, but that elbow drop trick does save a bit of time. So now we just have to take out these Belvedere heads. There's 3 waves of them, and they add new enemies every time. These pink ones are probably the most annoying, just because they can grab you like the rats. And also Peter doesn't have the longest of range on his punch, so I just kind of try to kick them if I can. If I don't feel confident, I'll charge. Also, sometimes I do the spin, but it just depends on how many enemies there are. Now in this 3rd wave, it'll spawn these red Belvederes that shoot fire. Once you take them out, you got the big Belvedere, and he comes and he just eats you. And then there's this little end cutscene where you see Peter's just been fighting himself in the closet, and he imagined the whole thing. And then he sees a spotlight leading him to a casino. So that's where the next level is, but for now we are in Testicle Stewie. In this level, we're trying to get to Bertram's lair inside of Peter's testicles so we can figure out his evil plan and the location of his evil lair. I do charge shots on these walls because they take 4 shots to fully break, 3 to be able to exit them. But I find just doing the charge shots to be the best way to do it. So here we are in Peter's lungs again. I found that there is a very consistent way to do this trick. I didn't find this trick. This trick was found by a runner named Vesurbis, but the way he was doing it was like walking forward on top of the mailbox, and then I found if you just walk diagonally into it like I did there and jump, you clip out very consistently. So that is a lot easier than standing on top of the mailbox. But that's just called mailbox skip. It saved maybe 40 seconds. It's a really nice trick. So here I just kind of try to charge shot them right as I pull up so I can get all the upgrades. The timing's kind of tight. You'll see I didn't really get much upgrades there, but I was just low, so I was like, I need to get upgrades. Normally I'd ignore those things, but given the circumstances, I figured I need more upgrades. But having 185 before you hit the section before the minefield is ideal, because in that part there's 15. So I have a good amount of upgrades here. Like, I'm not worried about how much I have at this point. So now we go to the Lake of Piss. This is same as the Lake of Acid. You'll take damage if you land in it. You pretty much just want to take the pathing I take. You can go to the right here and fly, but you need a decent amount of health to do that. And I was just too low at this point to risk it. So I did it this way, but if you're confident that you have enough health and can take the damage, you can fly to the right and then land on this platform there, and then you grab the health there and cross. So here I go for these upgrades just so I can get over 195. This is because there is an extra 10 at the end of this section, but it wastes time to collect them because they're inside of a red pustule that you can only get after you take out the sperm trooper. Uh, the reason why you have to take the sperm trooper out first is that you're racing him because he's going to warn all the other sperm troopers of your arrival, and if you don't kill him, he'll notify all of them. So we take this left path with the speed boost, because if you go to the right, you'll never catch him. He's too fast. You'll see here, I just kind of single shot. I didn't really care about charge shotting. That red pustule there to the right is the one with 10, but I don't need to go for it, like I said, because I already have 200. So now we head into the testicles. We have another cutaway here. This one is Helen Keller. You're supposed to just stand still and win the Marco Polo game, but we just go into her because it's faster. That one isn't really important to win. It just gives you 10 upgrades like all the Stewie ones do. So I drop a mine there. I try to use these mines to kill the enemies. The grenades too, but the mines in the field actually will damage them. So now I'm kind of retreating because I'm low on health and I need to pick up a health pack. And then I just charge shot here. There is a way to take out all these enemies instantly with one grenade, but it's kind of risky if you're low health like I was. So I just use the grenades here to kind of carve a path for myself. And then try to take out as many of these guys as I can. You'll see there's 2 left now on the left and right side. Also, you'll see those, they're like cells. Every time you shoot one, it drops 10, and they drop 5, and the last 2 drop 10. So you'll see that one in the back there, that cell drops 10. And he's one of the only ones that does drop 10. And then the other one that's going to come right now also drops 10. Unfortunately, I didn't hit him, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, you'll see that one in the back. He drops 10. And I tried to take out that guy. I was too slow. And then I was too slow for both of them, so they just kind of despawn at the end here. There is 10 upgrades here that I go for. It's important to have 250 by the end of Bertram's Lair, which is a level coming up, because it allows you to avoid going out of your way for extra upgrades in the Hall of Upgrades. So here I'm just kind of trying to aim my shot, break these laser walls. This one I'm kind of careful about shooting, because if you break it, you can't do this skip right here that I do, where you jump on top of it and then jump over the wall. So now we're at the last section of this level. You just kind of break that, and then using a grenade, I jump up and I shoot that. It'll break the laser wall in the back there. That stops you from having to fight all the enemies, because normally you have to do another section where you're fighting a bunch of sperm troopers, but it does waste time to actually fight them. It's better to just disable the laser wall and go through. So next we're going to go into Jolly Farms. This is another Brian section. At the end of this section, we will get to Tom Tucker. So that's kind of why we're here. We're just still going through the news station. Coming up too, there's a thing called bush skip. So you'll see that bush right there. Normally you're supposed to collect it, and but we found a cycle to where you don't need to collect it. If you do that exact movement, no one will detect you. You just kind of got to wait for this child here. And then you can run down and collect that tape, and you collect the tape over there. There's also another trick called sandbag skip. Normally you have to lower the sandbags and take out these humans, but if you come at it like that, then you don't have to do that. So here we're just collecting more tapes. There's 5 in this level. The cycle here is pretty easy. Like you just kind of follow this clipboard guy, then you come down here and you use this phone to make an announcement and scare off those people. There is a thing called phone skip where you can crouch cancel and then push the suit and tie guy and then run past. But phone skip is really precise. I never do phone skip just because it is really hard. Like every time I've tried to do it, I missed it. It's pretty much a PAL PS2 only thing because on PAL PS2 you do have increased move speed. So if you're playing on that, it's a bit easier. But I play on NTSC, so my move speed's not increased, and that trick is really difficult. Like it's just super precise. So here we're in the last part of the news station. We're just trying to get to Tom Tucker's room, which is at the end of the hallway. Most of these rooms are pretty simple, but there is one that has Trisha Takanawa, and she is just notorious for killing runs. She is really annoying. Um, she just, the cycles on her are weird, and usually she detects you if you're just like the least bit out of sync with the cycle. So you gotta go kind of fast. Also, if she catches you, she does like a really long animation where she's talking for like 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. It's super long, like longer than most animations for when people catch Brian. So it's really good to avoid her, because also then you have to replay this whole hallway, and that's annoying. We got a cutaway here. Brian's just teaching Peter about Christopher Columbus. This gives us some invisibility so we can rush past Joe and Diane like that. And then we're going to go into Tom Tucker's room. So in here, Brian finds out that the scent he was smelling was not Tom Tucker, and he's not sure who it was. But he realizes that Seabreeze is racing at the dog tracks, so he figures that's his best lead to head to the dog tracks and see if he can find the father there. So here I kind of just try to group up all these enemies and then spin. That's kind of the best way to do it, is just get a bunch of enemies together, spin, and then collect all the food. Yeah, you'll see I run past all those people. Another thing about Peter too is his orthogonal movement. It's faster to do while you're just walking, but if you're moving diagonally, it's faster to jump. So you'll see when I do diagonal movements, I try to jump, and when it's orthogonal, I'm usually walking. Sometimes I don't, and it kind of just depends on the situation. Like if I'm walking towards some stairs and it's orthogonal movement, I will jump just because it's faster to not walk up the stairs. But other than that, I do try to jump every time I have diagonal movement. So here you just take out the drum guys, because if you don't, then they'll just keep spawning enemies. And then you spin everyone. That was kind of a go skip. I was near the door, so when I go through, Peter does his little dance. Here you just kind of group everyone up and spin. I was worried I didn't have enough snack meter, but I ended up having enough to do it. You pretty much want to spin everyone in this hallway. That's the fastest way to do it. When there's a single enemy, I kind of just charge him down. It is faster to spin, but it uses so much snack meter that I don't find it's worth it to do a spin just for one enemy. Those guys, you got to be careful because their smoke knocks you down. Like I got knocked down there and it does a lot of damage. Here's another cutaway. You just mash Y for that. Pretty simple. It is timing based, so you need Peter to be above the disco ball when you start mashing. So the arrows here are kind of scary because they do a lot of damage if you get hit by them. So you want to make sure that you don't have any of them fall on top of you. Also, if you jump on top of an arrow, it'll do so much damage. Now we're going into the next part of this level. This is the chapel of the casino. So I'm kind of going out of my way for food here because I don't have enough to spin. And that's kind of why you'll see me collect these. Normally I don't if I have the snack meter to avoid it, but at this point I just didn't think I could spin, so I had to collect more. And then I use this guy to kind of collect extra upgrades. And then I charge that girl because it is faster. And then I take out these old people. Old people are the easiest to get ghost skips for because just the minute they touch the ground, you gotta jump because then they'll despawn after. But yeah, the old people usually are the easiest to tell when you can get the ghost skip. So here I kind of try to collect a little bit of food before I end the level. And then I just spin everyone. Now we're going into Bertram's lair. So Stewie has gotten out of Peter and he is now at Bertram's lair. There's an out of bounds clip here. I find it very inconsistent, but you can clip out of bounds and then walk behind those guards at the gate and go through the door. It saves roughly 40 or 50 seconds, but it is very inconsistent at the moment. I need to still do some testing because I don't believe there is a consistent way to do it. It just seems kind of random to me. If you're on PAL PS2, it's very consistent, but NTSC does have some differences, and PAL PS2 skips, there's like maybe 3 of them you can't do on NTSC. So here I'm just waiting for the upside down face kid. He's the last one you need to put up here. Basically, Stewie just kind of gets frustrated that they're not letting any of his minions in. So he just decides he's going to kill all the guards himself. So you just take these guys out, they fall to the ground, you go through here, turn that on, and come here. Here there's a thing called jetpack skip. It's super inconsistent on NTSC. It's pretty much a PAL PS2 only thing. But basically, you'll see a turret rise here. You can use this turret to clip out of bounds. I don't get the clip there, but if I had, I would have clipped through the wall, and then you skip this whole section. Like, you can just fly to the door at the end and exit. But because I didn't hit it, I have to do this section normally. You can lock onto the enemies here, which makes it a bit easier. Also, the normal way to take out those turrets is to just drop a grenade inside. Usually it's 1 hit, sometimes it's 2. I'm not sure exactly what causes the things to not die in 1 hit, but yeah, it's kind of random whether your grenade will take it out in 1 or 2 hits. So there I actually got an instant turret kill. Basically, when the turret's rising, if you shoot a bullet into the turret as it's rising, it'll get hit from the inside and it'll die. It saves a bit of time. It's pretty hard to do, but it's nice to get because that saves you from having to sit there charging the grenade and like landing it. So here I just kind of get the grenade in. You'll see that one died in 1 hit. Then these turrets are just kind of there to annoy you. You don't have to take those out, so I just ignore them. I always collect this as 10 extra pips because like I said before, you want 250 going into the Hall of Upgrades. So you'll see here I go out of my way for some extra pips because I'm kind of low. I grapple up and then balloon across to collect those. And then I break that and then I just continue along. The fastest way to kill those is with two charge shots. They have 6 health, but you have to be like in the center when you shoot them. So just walking up like that and charge shotting is the fastest way to take it out. You can single shot, but it is slower. So here I just kind of grappled to collect as much of the upgrades as I could. And then I kind of waited and then grappled again. There is a trick you can do where if you're holding A when you grapple and then you let go of the grapple, you'll actually pull balloons out like I did there. That saves you from having to lower the elevator. So here I just kind of jump on the platform. I didn't think I was going to make it there during the run. Like I even said, I was like, wow, I'm surprised I made that. So now I just kind of am going through this sludge hallway. This part is pretty basic. You just go through the slaloms and activate them all. Try not to die to the disease barrels. I was really scared here because of how low health I was. But yeah, the sliding also in this game is really weird. Like, it controls really badly. You'll see there I bonked the wall and missed the slalom, which was not good. But I was able to reposition myself like that. But yeah, the sliding control's weird. Like, if you've ever played this game, you'll kind of know how it feels, but it doesn't feel right, like the way you slide. I don't know how to describe it, but it just feels like Stewie doesn't go where he should go. And it feels like you have to like really go out of your way to turn him. So here's a laser wall skip. Like I said, that's the only one I go for because it's very consistent. Uh, Basically, where you spawn allows you to just do a single jump and then you hold forward and jump again and hold the balloons. And you'll get it every time. But the other ones that you have to like walk up to, it's kind of hard to actually, get yourself into the position and then you're kind of just wasting time positioning. So now we're just kind of going and activating these buttons here. These open the gates to these next sections. Also coming up is something I do called Big Stewie Skip. It saves about a second. Um, it's not super important to go for, and the main reason I go for it is my game crashes a lot at Big Stewie. I'm not really sure why. Honestly, if my game didn't crash, I probably wouldn't go for this skip. But I've had like 5 or 6 crashes in Big Stewie mid-run, and it seems really random. This level in general seems to crash my game a lot. Like, it's not just Big Stewie. There, like, when I break the cloning machines, it also seems to happen. But yeah, if you just walk up, you'll kind of lower it there. But there's like a box that if you touch it, it starts the Big Stewie game, which you don't want because it does have a tendency to crash the game. And I've checked my disc. My disc is not scratched. I don't know why it's like that because I don't know what would cause it other than a scratch disc. Here I'm pretty low health, so I kind of played this a lot safer than I would normally. Normally I'd just let these guys hit me while I shoot this thing, but I was really scared of that, so I kind of just take my time killing them. Also here, if you angle yourself, you can shoot those diagonally. I didn't get a good angle to shoot it diagonally as I was walking up, and also the enemies were kind of messing with me just because of how many had spawned. But yeah, I take those out. Then we go here to the Hall of Upgrades. There's an out of bounds trick here that lets you clip out. There's actually 270 bonus upgrades here. Uh, Most of the other runners go for them. I don't go for the extra upgrades, and I actually clipped in bounds accidentally, but you can continue to walk forward and then you just clip back in near the door. That's faster. This is actually slower what I did here because like I said, I clipped in bounds on accident, but if I hadn't clipped in bounds, it would have saved a bit of time. And yeah, I don't like going for the 270 upgrades. If you get to 500, you unlock rockets, but it makes the Bertram fight slower. It makes it makes the Rupert fight faster, but it makes this level slower because you have to collect 270 upgrades. So like I really don't like it. I don't think it saves time. Uh, so I just go for the 300 upgrade path where you get the penetrative bolts. You need penetrative bolts. If you don't have 300 by the time you get to Bertram fight, you are gonna just lose the fight because he just it's really hard to give him Hotfoot without 300. And Hotfoot is really important because that's the state he can get damaged in. Okay, so here there's like 100 or so enemies you have to take out. I kind of like to just circle the room and shoot the guys, and I also try to line them up like that so that my penetrative bolts like will go through them. The farty guys there in green are really scary because they do like half your health with one fart, and they lock you in place. So I just always run away from them. They're really, really annoying. And here I'm getting towards the end. You'll see there are less and less enemies spawning now, so it's a good sign that this section's almost over. Here I'm just kind of searching for the last enemy. I realized he spawned on the right, so I come back, take him out, go up here. Death gives you an award of 100 upgrades. I don't really see it as worth it. Or, sorry, not 100. He gives you 10 upgrades. I don't see that as worth it, just because, like I said, I only go to 300. I don't care about upgrading ray gun past that. So there's not much point to it. Here, I just kind of spin everyone. I didn't train them properly, so I kind of have to go out of my way to take everyone out, which did waste a bit of time. Also, you'll see there I missed the go skip. That's kind of what it looks like. Peter does a little dance, and then you just continue along. So now we're just spinning these guys, taking them out. Those card thrower guys I charge because they do die to a charge. Most of the enemies, they get knocked down when you charge into them, and you have to pick them up like that. But any of the range people, they'll just get one shot by the charge attack, so it's good to charge into those people. Now I'm just kind of taking out the rest of these guys. I did have kind of bad cycles here. Normally I like to train all the enemies together and then spin them at once, but I was just too low on my snack meter to risk it. So I like to charge these card throwers, because if you don't take them out right there, they'll just continue to throw stuff at you. And I was trying to pick that guy up. It's kind of precise, the angle you have to be at when you press X to pick them up, because if you're not like at the exact right spot, you'll just kind of punch and do that. So there I kind of got the go skip. Peter went through, but he does the go animation when he enters here. So now I'm just, like I said, training all the enemies, kind of getting them together, and then doing the spin. I picked this guy up to chuck there, and then this guy to chuck there, but I missed him, so I go like that with that guy. And now we're going to be getting to a Gandhi minigame. I use all my charge there and waste the snack meter, because at the end of this minigame, you'll get full snack meter. You just want to eat the hot dogs, and the first to 25 wins. So there is a bit of RNG, but usually you won't lose this game. The RNG is just kind of whether or not you get a bunch of hot dogs in one spot. And I probably could have won right there, but I missed 3, so I didn't. There I get to 25, and then you get Food Frenzy. Here I was just kind of trying to find health, because I wasn't sure which machines had health. So I hit Gandhi, and I hit the snack guy. The snack guy you don't need to take out. He just drops hot dogs, but you're at full snack meter anyways. Now I'm kind of just spinning everyone in this elevator. It's really important to spin them, because if you don't, it just wastes time picking them up and checking them. Like I said earlier, just kind of avoiding the arrows. The arrows do a lot of damage to you. Here we got another cutaway. In this one, the developers blew the budget on the game, so you just kind of press a button. And that's probably one of the easiest cutaways. Now I'm kind of just waiting for the last cycle. There's always 3 cycles of enemies here. I got hit by the smoke there, you'll see too. You can take the guy out and get hit by the smoke, but it's just annoying because you fall to the ground and it wastes a bit of time. There, I charged the guy before he stood up, because that actually lets you just knock him down the minute he stands up. And now I'm just training people through this section again. I picked this guy up, and I tried to throw him at the lady there, but I missed. It is best to throw the Indian guys at the adults, because that'll just kill them, and you take out 2 enemies at once. Now there's a mini boss here. He's kind of like the clam, but he only takes 1 spin. There I got knocked down, so the spin didn't complete. But yeah, you just kind of take him out. It's pretty simple. And then here, I just kind of charged those 2, charged that guy, and then I knocked him down, came down here. I threw him at that enemy and then knocked that one out. Now we're going to Phineas and Barnaby. The fastest way to do this is to food fight. For some reason, my food fight animation got canceled there, but you'll see for a second I pulled it off. If you get the food fight, it's an instant kill, but if you don't, you end up having to spin these guys. It probably would have been like a 30 or so second time save over PB if I had done that, but I did miss it, unfortunately. And then I just kind of take out this last guy here, and we're done with the level after that, and we're going to the dog races as Brian to try to track down the father of Seabreeze's children. So here Peter just kind of walks out, and then he gets hit by something, and he takes off his egg costume, and then he realizes he needs to head to the docks to find Belvedere. So now in this section, you're collecting drop tickets because you're trying to find the father, and Brian thinks that maybe the father's scent is on one of the tickets. So this part has 5. Also, you're going to see another crouch cancel here. You crouch cancel that guy, and you can just run to the VIP section. So here we're now backstage in the VIP section. You just want to run past Carter there. The timing's kind of tight because you will get caught by Carter if you're not going fast enough. You just kind of wait for those people, and then you can collect that ticket there, and this room's complete. There are 6 of these rooms in the back, so that's the first of them. This one has 3 tickets. You just kind of want to get that one, and then you wait for this butler there, and then you can go to the bar and get the one underneath the bar. And then after you collect this one, you want to go in front of this guy and then crouch, and he won't catch you. And then I wait here for this butler, but you can actually rush it, and if you wait by that little table with the candles, he won't detect you, but it's very risky, and I don't like going for that, because if you miss it, you lose like maybe 20 or so seconds. So now we're in the 3rd room of the backstage area. It's just collecting more drop tickets. In all these parts, you're just collecting tickets. You can rush this and collect that ticket before the guy goes up. You'll see there, I kind of went at the wrong time. I forgot. But you can rush that. Here, I don't like risking it, but I go for it here. I wait there. You can like collect the ticket, like I said, and then you're able to go the minute that guy on the top starts moving, and that'll save a bit of time because you don't have to wait for the butler there. But the cycles here are kind of weird for me still. I don't really like risking it. So now we have another cutaway here. This one is really easy to do because the button press pops up for 1 second before the mini game starts. So you'll see here, it kind of pops up. You see the B for 1 second, so I knew I just have to mash B. I collect the ticket, and then the rest of the level is pretty simple. Even if you fail that one, you don't need invisibility to do this section, so it's not too bad of a mini game to fail. And then here we go to the left. That enables a cutscene skip. Basically, there's normally like a cutscene that's like showing all the guards in the level, but if you just run to the left here, the game won't play the cutscene, which is really helpful. And then we just kind of do the level backwards. Like normally you're supposed to go down and collect that ticket first, but we do it backwards where the first ticket is our 3rd ticket. Also, I did end up filling up that bone meter, but it didn't really punish me because the guard was still walking. If the guard had been stopped, I definitely would have been caught. So now we're in another section of Rupert's lair. We're just trying to rescue Rupert here because Bertram has kidnapped him. and we raise the elevator there and hit A. It's like a mid-air jump. It's kind of a tight trick, but uh, if you get it, it does save a few seconds of having to wait for the other elevator. Now I just kind of take those out. Those turrets, they die to one hit, so you just kind of shoot inside of them. And then once you've taken out all the turrets and the kids, it'll let you exit. I wasn't aiming at the right part there, so that one took a bit more shots to kill. Now we're in another sliding section. Here you really want to make sure you collect all these health pickups, because if you don't have the extra health, it does make it harder when you get to the last part of this slide. So Bertram here turns on this toxic gas, and you will lose health every few seconds. So if you're not careful, you can die, and that's why you want full health before he turns on the poison gas. So now we're just continuing on through here, collecting the health whenever I can. It's best to make sure you have full health by the point you hit the last health pickup, because that will mean that you'll be good on health going into the next section. So see, I wasn't exactly full there, but I still had a good amount of health going here. I do collect health here just to be safe, because I've had these spikes kill me in a few runs. But you don't need to. If you feel like risking it, you can do that. Also, you don't need full health exiting this level, because going into the next section, well, not the next section, but the section after the next, it'll heal you to full before the Rupert fight. So just, even if you have 1 health before Rupert fight, you'll be okay. So here's a little sequence break here. We jump on top of this smashy thing, and then walk forward and jump under the glass. I'm not sure exactly how much time that saves, but it does prevent you from having to go around, which does save a decent chunk of time. And then we just hook shot up. Cross here. These sections are not too bad. If you're low health, you want to be careful, because the little kids can punch you and you'll die. I've had that happen, but other than that, it's pretty basic. You're just going back and forth. Here's a little thing you can do. You can jump on there and then jump up there. For some reason, I kept missing it, so I was just like, screw that. I'm going to do it normally. But you are able to do it that way, where you jump on the boxes. Also, using these turrets, if you like land on top of it and jump, you can hook shot up. I missed it there. I did it on an earlier one, but I ended up missing it on the second. It's only like a 1 or 2 second time save. It's nothing huge. So now we're just going to the through the last hall here until we hit Bertram. Or not Bertram, sorry, Rupert fight. Here you'll see I go to full health when I enter here, so even if I had 1 hit, I would have been fine going into this boss fight. So this boss takes 75 hits with the penetrative bolts. I don't count them, I just kind of base it off of whether or not I'm like too scared to continue standing here, because you'll see these purple balls get shot at you, and also the floor gets electrocuted, so you got to be careful, because you could die. And then once the purple bolts start getting close, I just walk forward so that they can't hit me. And then I fly back, take them out like that in a line. And then I just kind of walk forward, shoot some more. You can kind of risk it sometimes if you want to stand still and take extra electricity damage. I don't like doing that, but if you feel like you have enough health to keep doing it, it's something you can go for. I personally don't think it's good to do that, but you can if you want to. Like there, I might have wanted to, because it only had like 2 or 3 more hits left. But I was just really scared to die and then have to do Rupert fight again. So now we got Cyborg Peter. Here, Peter thinks he's a ninja cyborg from the year 3000. And that's because like a boat fell on him or something. I'm not sure exactly if that's like a reference to a Family Guy episode, but a lot of the costumes for Peter are references to previous Family Guy episodes. So here I'm just kind of collecting a bit of a snack meter to make sure I have enough going into the next section. That's called dock skip. So you jump out onto the dock and then jump back in there. And then I collect the checkpoint there and then kind of just suicide to these guys. That does save a bit of time because normally you'd have to do that fight there. But if you do dock skip, you just skip it like that. And then I ignore the food. You don't need to kill any of the food in this level to get to the next checkpoint. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Here I just kind of let the guy throw the barrel and take out that one. It's better to do that than to actually fight. Now we're gonna get to another one of these guys that throws stuff. I always try to jump it, but I'm like, that's kind of a bad habit of mine. You can't jump over those. Here I'm just kind of letting them punch me because I was like, well, I'm low health. I need to regain some health anyways. And then I collect some extra snack meter off this guy so that the next section's a bit easier. Because if you don't have snack meter going into that fight, it's very tough. So here I break that to get the extra health, and then I jump through there. You don't need to, I just kind of did it for fun. And then you'll see the chicken guy is here, but I'm not even fighting him because you don't need him to get the go. Now we have a thing called Ninja Seal Skip. You can do this with any enemy in the game, but it's easiest with the Ninja Seals. So basically, if Peter takes damage as he elbow drops, he'll clip through walls. That's pretty much the only section that it's really useful in. You can do it in the last Peter level, but it's kind of risky. Just because it despawns the boss, and then you have to suicide to respawn the boss, which is not fun. So here you're just trying to collect the beer and prevent it from breaking. If any of these beer touches the ground, you lose the mini game, so it's really important to collect all the beer. Also, the swordfish do damage you, so sometimes I don't care and I'll take the damage, but once I start to get low health, I kind of try to go out of my way to avoid taking damage from them. Also, if you jump into the beer, it collects them faster and it'll spawn the next one sooner. So I always try to jump into the beers whenever I can remember. Also, it's worth it to just charge into the beer because you don't lose snack meter. Like, yeah, you'll lose it for a bit, but you just gain it right back from drinking the beer. So there's no real time loss in doing that. So now we're on the last wave here, and I'm getting close to the end of the level. After the beer mini game, there's one cutaway, and then that's the end of this. It's pretty simple. You just kind of collect the beers, not much to it. Now there's a cutaway for Peter here. You got to use the waffle iron. And that Peter's kind of moving his hand back and forth, so you have to time when you press the button. Now here we're in Hot Dog Brian. This is the last Brian level. He's hot on the trail of the father of Seabreeze's children. So we're just collecting more tickets and trying to figure that out. Here we collect this vendor costume. If you don't collect the vendor costume, you can't go to the next level, so it's very important to have the vendor costume. You can collect that ticket, but it's kind of risky because you risk touching one of the cops and getting detected. There, I always just wait and collect it, and then I come up and get that one. I also just collect all 5 of these here, and then I go up. You can wait for the cop to walk back down like that, but I like just going to the left and not even risking touching the cop because you will lose the level if you're touching the cop right there. So here you just got to provide snacks to the people who request them, and if you give the wrong person a snack, they'll get upset and you'll be detected. And it's the same cycles every time. There's no RNG here. It's always going to be the same order of people you give food to. I kind of try to collect the tickets where I'm going to be near the next people. Here, I should have gone for the other ticket because the people who request food are those two in the corner. So I would have been slightly closer, but it's really only like a 2 to 3 second time lost there. And then you just kind of feed the people. You know you fed them if they kind of put their hands up and cheer. And then these people you give food to. And then coming up here, this is the last cycle for the food vending part. You give it to those 3 people in the top. You get Chris a hot dog, and then you get that guy up there. One thing I don't understand is why Chris doesn't like know it's Brian. Like all he's wearing is a is a hot dog costume. Like I feel like it's still pretty obvious it's Brian, but I don't know. I find that funny that like Chris doesn't recognize him. Same with Cleveland. Like Cleveland doesn't recognize Brian. So Brian's kind of getting hot on the trail now, and he realizes like if he wins the race, impersonating Seabreeze, that it could be a good way to lure out the father. So here we're just kind of poisoning the dog food, so that it makes the dogs sleepy, and then they'll fall asleep during the race. And yeah, that's because Brian definitely could not beat these dogs in a race. So you just kind of wait for that janitor there, and then we come up here and get this bowl. Then after this, there's only 3 more. A lot of these dogs have like weird detection, so they just kind of don't see you even when you're like blatantly in front of them. And now there's one more bowl here. Another, like that janitor there has really bad detection too. A lot of the enemies in the Brian sections are really bad about detecting you. So you can crouch cancel the guard there. I did not want to risk it because I was on world record pace here. And this was really late into the run. So I was like, no, I'm not going to risk the crouch cancel. But you can just poison that bowl and then crouch cancel that. And it saves having to pick up the costume. I do prefer doing it the safe method. But it is roughly 23 seconds slower. So here I'm just kind of racing. And as you'll see, a lot of the dogs fall asleep because Brian had poisoned the food and to make them sleepy. So they're just kind of, you know, they're really out of it. And then, yeah, you win the race, and now you lure out the father of Seabreeze. I skipped the cutscene, so you're not really going to see it, but it turns out that Quagmire was the father of Seabreeze's puppies, and so Brian is innocent, and you know he gets off without going to jail. So that's the conclusion of the Brian story. So now we have this Peter section. This is Beach Peter. You clip out of bounds off Quagmire there, and then now that we're out of bounds, we can go up this mountain. This saves a lot of time doing this because you avoid having to do this this fighting section here. You got to be really careful because you can clip back in bounds there. But if you don't clip back in, you save a lot of time not having to fight those enemies because it just spawns a bunch of beach dudes and beach babes, and fighting them is really annoying. So now we're going to the Black Knight fight. This fight is really easy. Like you just hold R and Y and do food fight, and then you run into the Black Knight. It'll like it's not a Monty Python reference, at least I don't think it is, but it always makes me think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail when I get to this part. So you just take out the Black Knight like that, and then we'll be on to the final Stewie section and almost at the end of the run. There is one more Peter cutaway. This one doesn't really matter. Like it'll get you snack meter going into the last Peter level, but If you fail it, you fail it. It's hard to fail though. Like those mashing ones are, I'd say they're pretty much impossible for you to lose. So now we're here at the playground to confront Bertram. Basically, after you rescued Bertram, or not Bertram, sorry, you rescued Rupert from Bertram. Uh, you blow up Bertram's mind control satellite, and uh, Stewie is challenged by Bertram to a fight at the playground. So Stewie accepts, and now we're here to fight Bertram. So in this early section, you just want to take out all the clones and then shoot the final Bertram. If you don't shoot the final Bertram before you take out all the clones, like you'll see he's running, if he ran back, he would spawn more clones. I got insanely lucky there because I shot him down like right as he was about to spawn more clones. So if he had spawned more clones, it would not have completed that first segment as fast. So here Bertram goes mega, and now he's huge. And this is what I was talking about, needing the penetrative bolts to have hot foot. Both those feet have different health meters, so being able to shoot both at once makes it a lot faster to give him the hot foot. And then once he has hot foot, he's in a state where he can take damage, and you just want to shoot him on the head like that. So you do this 3 times, and it's pretty basic. I mean, there's not much to explain here. I hold R because R aims Stewie when you get to the top there, just to help me with my angles and aiming. But yeah, and then you get the hot foot again, and you grapple up. I don't know exactly how much health his feet have. It's kind of random whether he gets hot foot, but yeah. And now the playground is blown up a bit, and we do that same thing 3 more times, except we have to do a bit trickier of parkour. So you have to land on these monkey bars. And as you'll see there, I missed the monkey bar, which was really scary because if you miss it and then you don't shoot Bertram fast enough, you actually won't be fast enough on this cycle to shoot him again. So I was trying to go very fast here, and I did shoot him like first try. But if I had missed maybe 2 or 3 of those, Bertram would have gone back to stomping, and I would have had to go and shoot his feet again and then parkour over again, which that easily could have costed me about 30 or so seconds had that happened. And then I kind of just shoot him again. I'm missing here because I wasn't in a good angle, but I do eventually get it. And then I'm just kind of going back in, shoot his feet again, give him the hot foot. And then after I shoot him one more time, there will be one more section to this level. There I really like went out of my way to make sure I'm gonna land on the monkey bars because it's really risky. I've had where I just don't make it. And now we're in the sandbox fighting Bertram. This part is pretty easy. Also, the stomps don't do damage to you depending on where you're standing. So you'll see I stand in a very specific spot here. That's because you'll see it prevents Stewie from taking any damage. So now I just kind of, you shoot the ray gun. You're trying to destroy the growth device on his ray gun to shrink him back down to size. And then you break the gun, and Stewie finally confronts Bertram. He's about to kill him, and Bertram ends up crying out for his mom, so his mom comes to rescue him, and he lives to fight another day. So here is the final level. It's a chicken fight. Peter was hanging out in the bar, just kind of, sad that he couldn't find Mr. Belvedere, and then he sees Mr. Belvedere in the bar, but Mr. Belvedere rips off his mask, and it turns out it was actually the chicken the whole time. So now Peter's doing this little chicken fight. Basically, you kind of just want to knock the chicken down, so that's what I do these spins for, is to try to get him in the knockdown position, and then you want to spin onto him like that, and that will be the most damage to let you do this like punch thingy. And it kind of alternates between having to do specific button presses and then mashing. So here, the chicken jumps into the air immediately. Normally, I would spin, but you can't do a spin right away on the chicken. So you have to hit him before the spin will damage, otherwise he just blocks. So I had to kind of wake him up and then do that to get the spin enabled. And then we take the chicken out in this part, and we're gonna go to a airplane field. Here there's a bunch of mines, so I kind of try to use the mines to damage the chicken. They don't do too much damage, but it still is damage, you know. Any amount of damage is good to do. And then I kind of just spin. This is another mashing one, so then the next one is going to be button presses. And we're going to actually go inside of the plane. Here there's like furniture that falls, so you got to be careful, because if you get hit by the furniture, it makes the chicken stand up, which is bad, but I ended up getting enough spins there to where it didn't matter. And Peter's just kind of, you know, slamming the chicken some more, and then we'll be in the next part, which is this floating raft. This is probably the hardest part of the chicken fight, just because the chicken's doing this like punching thing, and it damages you a lot. So, you know, if you're not careful, he'll kill you. And I'm just kind of trying to run, make sure I don't die. I'm just kind of praying it knocks him down fast enough to where I don't need to reset. I just went for a spin there because I was like, if it damages him, it damages him. But he did end up blocking, which was annoying. So I ended up dying there, which was a bit of time loss. And then here I'm just kind of trying to do the spins. And then kind of midway through this fight, I realized if I just punch him, that's probably better than spinning. So I started just doing punches instead. And now we're going on to the last room of the chicken fight. Here you just kind of want to do the same thing of spinning the chicken when he lands, but he'll always instantly jump in the air. Unfortunately, I got knocked down there, so I couldn't do anything when he landed. But here I get him down, I start collecting food, and then I get ready to spin once he lands again. He did end up blocking, which was really annoying. It's kind of RNG whether or not the chicken blocks, but if he does end up blocking you, it sucks. See, like right there, for some reason, he blocked me again. And by this point, I was getting really annoyed, because like I should have had the spin already there. And here I'm just kind of beating up the chicken. And if you get the chicken to do this part while he's low health like that, it allows you to avoid fighting him in the next room. So normally there's a fight in this room coming up here, but it just goes straight to this button pressing game if you have him low enough. So now I just kind of press the buttons, and then that's time right there. So I got a 127.49 because the time stops on the last button press, but I was late on my split, but it is a 127.49. And then, yeah, we got the final cutscene here. Peter jumps out of the building before the bomb explodes, and then he lands on top of Meg, and, you know, he doesn't die. I don't know how Meg doesn't die, but somehow she lives through that. And then, yeah, my chat started going crazy with some Chloe Hypers emotes, and just everyone was dropping emotes, showing some love, because that was a new world record right there. So thank you all for watching my commentary of Family Guy video game. I appreciate it so much. And, you know, my goals now with this game is to eventually get a 126, but I'd really like to see this game go below 120. That's really dependent on finding more skips and glitches, but I do believe that one day the Family Guy video game will be beaten sub 120. It's definitely possible on a PAL PS2 just because you have the move speed increase. So I might end up getting one of those someday, but for now I just run on my NTSC OG. Anyways, once again, thank you everyone for watching this commentary. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the run. Have a good day. Bye!